I was using my boyfriend's computer to look up information. Accidentally, I saw a post about arapaima that he had bookmarked. If someone is killed and then dismembered and the body is fed to this kind of fish, wouldn't it be done without anyone knowing? The highly praised reply below, yes. Remember to break the bones separately. By the way, keep a few scavengers to deal with the feces. My heart tightened. Is it a coincidence? The arapaima that my boyfriend bought just arrived yesterday. I continued to browse the post. Just curiously asking, how long does a 200-pound big fish take to digest a 100-pound pig? 3 or 4 days. But there will be high-protein worms in the fish tank. I tried it before. The one upstairs is a bit criminal. You'd better really be talking about pigs. Which kind of pig? The kind that can talk and walk? Reading these comments one by one made me terrified. Subconsciously, I glanced at Chad, who was feeding the fish. There was a basin of frozen meat by his feet. Due to the high indoor temperature, the frozen meat had slightly melted, and the oozing blood made me feel nauseous. He noticed my gaze and turned his head to make a heart gesture at me. I was so scared that I quickly withdrew my gaze. Chad bookmarked this post half a month ago. It was also at that time that he proposed the idea of raising arapaima. I have always known that Chad likes raising fish. There are more than a dozen kinds of fish, big and small, in our house. So at first, I didn't pay much attention to it at all. Until I heard his conversation with the seller. For a 2-meter-long fish, he ordered 3. I was puzzled. Don't you enjoy the sense of accomplishment of raising fish from fry? Why are you doing the opposite this time? Besides, 1 2-meter-long fish is enough to raise. He smiled. You don't understand. This kind of fish has to be raised when it's big. Besides, raising small ones is simply not in time. I asked him what he meant by not being in time. Then he quickly changed the subject with a joke. Combined with the post in front of me, I was suddenly covered in cold sweat. Could the not in time in Chad's mouth refer to destroying the body? A terrifying thought emerged in my mind. Does he want to kill me? At this time, Chad pushed the door and entered. Wife, come and eat. I suddenly came to my senses and subconsciously closed the notebook, for fear that he would know that I had found this post. He seemed to notice my abnormality and tentatively said, Are you okay? Why is your face so pale all of a sudden? I shook my head and said angrily, It's all your fault for making a fuss for too long last night. Let's go eat first. I want to go to bed early today. I dragged him and started to walk out. Chad prepared my favorite hot pot today. Looking at the plates of freshly sliced beef in front of me, I always unconsciously think of the content of the post just now. For a while, I have no appetite at all. Chad put the meat in while chatting with me casually. Hey, do you remember the accountant in our company? I uttered an mm. She died. She was hacked more than a dozen times by her husband. The reason was that her husband found out she was having an affair. When the police found her, all the blood on her body had drained away. My hand trembled, and the duck blood suddenly fell into the spicy pot and splashed ripples. He looked at me thoughtfully and suddenly asked, Wife, what would you do if I had an affair? I deliberately spoke coquettishly. What else can I do? Of course, I would break up with you. I don't want to beg for reconciliation shamelessly. What about you? If I had an affair, what would you do? I would kill you and that adulterer and then commit suicide. You know, you are my life. I won't let you leave me. My face instantly turned pale. He suddenly laughed. Look how scared you are. At most, I would only kill the adulterer and then imprison you. He put down his chopsticks and walked to my side, gently holding me in his arms. Don't be afraid anymore. It's all hypothetical. You only have me in your heart and won't cheat at all. Of course, I also. His voice was as gentle as always, just like discussing today's weather with me. But in my ears, it was a blatant threat. At this moment, my heart was pounding like a drum. Now I can be sure that the person Chad wants to kill is me. To be exact, not just me, but also that man. That matter was still discovered by him. A month ago, I received a strange call. The other party claimed to be my ex-boyfriend named Ryan. Chad and I have been childhood sweethearts and have been together since high school. There is no ex-boyfriend at all. So I subconsciously thought it was a scam call and hung up. But the other party didn't give up and sent me the so-called evidence. I opened it and was stunned. It was a somewhat embarrassing intimate photo. The woman in the photo is me, but the man is not Chad. I carefully studied the photo. There was no trace of PS. The shooting time was half a year ago. Half a year ago? No wonder I don't have any impression. Half a year ago, I had a car accident. My head was hit and I lost some of my memory. But why did the other party contact me suddenly? Extortion? Yes, it must be so. Chad is a locally famous entrepreneur. A few days ago, when he was a guest on a financial program, he announced our wedding date. I think that person may have watched the show. But Chad and I have never broken up. Could it be that I was unfaithful? After realizing this, I was plunged into great fear. I hurriedly contacted Ryan and wanted to solve this matter quietly. But things exceeded my expectations. Just as I had guessed, I was indeed unfaithful. According to Ryan, because I couldn't stand Chad's almost perverted possessiveness, I ran away from home when he went abroad on business. Originally, I only thought of going out to relax for a few days and then come back, but I didn't expect to meet Ryan. The two of us fell in love at first sight and had a very pleasant week. Before parting, I confessed to Ryan that I had a boyfriend, but he said he didn't mind and was willing to wait for me to break up. In this way, we started an underground relationship that lasted for a year. During this period, I also mentioned breaking up with Chad, but he refused every time. But paper can't cover fire forever. Half a year ago, things were still exposed. I made an appointment with Ryan to elope. Unexpectedly, there was a car accident on the way. I lost my memory and forgot about him. He was sent to prison by Chad by means. Impossible. I hurriedly retorted. Although Chad is a bit narrow-minded, he won't do illegal things. So I definitely don't believe that he will send Ryan to prison. But Ryan asked me, "Do you really know him? Think carefully. Have you left home in the past 6 months? Do you really think the car accident was just an accident?" My heart skipped a beat. The car accident not only took away my memory but also caused my legs to fracture. I have been recuperating at home during these 6 months. During this period, I also proposed to go out and have a look. At first, he refused to let me go out on the pretext that my leg was broken. Later, when my leg healed, he said that it was too chaotic outside and was afraid that someone would hurt me. Later, he took the initiative to take me out, but every time either he had to go on a business trip or go abroad. Vera, believe me, Chad is a pervert. One day, I will prove it to you and make you leave with me willingly. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Usually, Chad checks my phone very strictly. I hurriedly deleted all of Ryan's contact information. But what he said caused ripples in my heart. After that, Ryan would always send me text messages when Chad wasn't at home. At first, I didn't reply, but the days alone at home were really boring. Gradually, I began to chat with him casually. Until 3 days ago, Ryan disappeared. Looking back, I met Chad's sinister gaze. "What are you thinking about? So absorbed." "I'm thinking about what kind of wedding dress to choose tomorrow. Tomorrow I will go to try on wedding dresses." It is also the day I made an appointment to meet Ryan. In the past month, he has proposed to take me away countless times, but I have refused. I told him that although Chad is really stubborn in some aspects, but now I only have him in my heart. After hearing this, Ryan proposed to meet me and show me something. If I still decide to get married after seeing it, then he will never disturb me again. But after saying this, he never contacted me again. I forgot to tell you. We won't go to the wedding dress shop tomorrow, Chad said as he put meat in my bowl. Why? My voice suddenly rose. I have been looking forward to this day for a long time. The owner of that wedding dress shop owes debts and runs away. I will contact a foreign designer for you. She will come to serve you at home. Run away? Impossible at all. This wedding dress shop is the best in the city. At first, I chose this one because it is expensive enough. How could it suddenly run away? I suppressed my emotions and made a final struggle. I have been looking forward to this day for a long time. I also plan to eat at your favorite Western restaurant. Otherwise, I can bring back whatever you want to eat. It's also inconvenient for you to go out. Just stay at home obediently. I still wanted to say something, but Chad had lost patience. The room fell into a deathly silence. This time, going out to try on wedding dresses was proposed by Chad on his own initiative. I thought I could really go out. Unexpectedly. Could it be true what Ryan said? Was the car accident caused by Chad on purpose in order to imprison me? Thinking of what he just said, I couldn't help but feel a chill. This is too terrifying. Looking at Chad in front of me, I suddenly felt a sense of strangeness. In order to keep me by his side, he didn't hesitate to cripple me. Is this really love? I put down my chopsticks in disappointment and was about to go back to my room. Suddenly, the mobile phone on the table vibrated with a buzzing sound. Is it Ryan? I grabbed the mobile phone before Chad. He became instantly alert. Why? Is there something on your phone that I can't see? Are you so nervous? I shouted. You can look at it whenever you say so. You can't go out whenever you say so. I have to listen to everything you say. Do you really love me? You know that they have been laughing at you for marrying a cripple. I just want to go out with you and make them shut up when they see us. But you won't even satisfy me on this point. I know Chad very well. If I say that I want to go out because I want to go out and see and have illusions about the outside world, it will instead arouse his disgust. Only when I say that going out is for him will he feel guilty. Sure enough, he hugged me who wanted to leave. Sorry, wife. I didn't take care of your feelings. But I don't care about other people's eyes at all. You also know that the car accident almost made me lose you. I just don't want you to have an accident again. After coaxing me for a while, I pretended not to be angry anymore. Then punish you to pour me a glass of water. Yes, my dear wife. Looking at his back as he left, I breathed a sigh of relief. Quickly took out my phone to see what it was. Just then, a huge shadow enveloped me. My heart tightened. It was too late to hide my phone. Chad's distinct knuckled hand reached down from above. What are you looking at? Let me take a look too. As he spoke, the phone slid past my eyes. I was so nervous that cold sweat streamed down. I wasn't sure if the person who sent the message just now was Ryan. If it was him, how would Chad react? Kill me or? My mind was in a mess. Just as I was about to explain, Chad returned my phone to me. Credit card reminder message. Did you forget to make the payment today again? My tense emotions were relieved, and I quickly took back my phone. 6. Do you want plain boiled water or honey water? Honey water. For safety reasons, this time I watched him enter the kitchen. Quickly sent a message of cancel the meeting to Ryan and then deleted all contact information. It's been 3 whole days. During this period, I sent many messages to Ryan. But there was no response at all. This can't help but make me think more. But at present, Chad has no intention of going out at all. I secretly planned to find a way to secretly call Ryan when he went to feed the fish. Just didn't expect that this time Chad proposed that I go with him to feed the fish. My body stiffened slightly and I looked at him suspiciously. Wouldn't he take the opportunity to push me into the water? It wasn't until I saw the 2 large basins of meat on the ground that I breathed a sigh of relief slightly. Would you like to try? Then he thrust the tweezers into my hand irresistibly. I bent down to pick it up and frozen place. Fresh meat. Yes. The frozen meat prepared before was eaten up. I bought some fresh ones in the afternoon while you were sleeping. No, he's lying. He didn't go out at all in the afternoon. I clearly saw him enter the basement, and the car has been parked in the yard all the time. A terrifying thought instantly popped into my mind. I subconsciously took a few steps back and stared at Chad in front of me without blinking. Why are you looking at me? Feed the fish. They are all in a hurry. I enduring fear with great effort. Threw the meat into the fish tank. The moment the meat entered the water, the arapaima swallowed it in one gulp. Blood and water spread in the fish tank along with the splashing water. His excited voice rang in my ears. Look, how fierce they are. Saying that, he poured the whole basin of meat in. The 3 fish scrambled to snatch it. The fish tails slapped the fish tank and made a clanging sound. I was so frightened that I exclaimed and stared straight at the fish tank in front of me. In the gradually turbid water, I vaguely saw a human finger. Is it a finger? Until Chad carried me back to the bedroom, I was still thinking about this question. If it's really a finger, could it be Ryan's? Is he already dead, or was his finger simply cut off? If it's the former, then my situation is also very dangerous. If it's the latter, it means that Chad just wants to scare me and not let me leave. But no matter which one it is, staying here is not a good choice. I must find a way to leave. 19. You are too timid. You were scared pale by a few fish. Go to rest early. Saying that, he was about to take off my coat. I shyly pointed to my lower abdomen. That's here. He quickly patted his head. It's all my fault. It's already the 11th today. How could I be so careless as to forget this? Wait for me to make brown sugar water for you. He took away my phone, by the way. After he left, I hugged my legs and shivered, desperately analyzing my situation. Half a year of being hidden in a golden house has made me lose all my friends. Now he has taken away my phone again. I have no way to get in touch with the outside world at all. If I use force, I am no match for him at all. Suddenly I thought of something, and my gaze subconsciously fell on the cabinet in front of the bed. There were sleeping pills prepared for me by Chad in it. But I didn't expect that when Chad came back, he gave me my phone back. I just took it by mistake. I thought it was mine. If you're bored lying down, you can watch videos for a while, or should I bring in the tablet for you to catch up on dramas? I shook my head and pretended to be in pain. No. My stomach doesn't feel well. I'm going to sleep. Pointed to the vitamins on the table. You should also take your medicine and go to sleep early. Under my nervous gaze, he took all the vitamins without suspicion. I replaced one sleeping pill in it. After swallowing, he kissed my forehead as usual. I affectionately hugged his waist and said, "Love you, hubby. Have an early rest." Not until the door was closed and the room was plunged into darkness did I collapse limply on the bed and gasp for breath in large mouthfuls. Chad is very alert. I can't even imagine what he would do to me if he had just found out. The sleeping pill is very effective. At most, one will fall into a deep sleep in 20 minutes. Before that, I just need to wait patiently. Just then, a familiar vibration came from my phone. When I opened it, it was Ryan. He said, "Sorry, my phone was broken these days and has just been repaired. Then you pay attention to safety and contact me again when it's convenient. He's okay?" I quickly replied to his message. "Has Chad contacted you recently?" He replied instantly, "No. He still doesn't know that I'm out of prison for the time being. You don't have to worry. Ryan isn't dead. So it's not a finger in the fish tank?" So I wrongly blamed Chad. At the thought of having fed him sleeping pills in order to escape, a sense of guilt welled up in my heart. Ryan asked, "Did Chad say anything to you? Why did you suddenly ask me like this?" I replied, "Nothing. I haven't been able to contact you for several days. I'm just a bit worried." The other party replied very quickly, "You're worried about me? Did you remember something? Did you regain your feelings for me? I knew you couldn't just forget me like this." I gave a wry smile. What was Ryan talking about? Why was he so mysterious? No. I looked through the message Ryan had just sent me again. He never used punctuation marks when contacting me before. For this reason, I had complained about him once, saying that it was easy not to understand what he said. But in this message, the punctuation marks are used very correctly. This person is not Ryan at all. Suddenly, a chill ran down to the soles of my feet. I subconsciously looked at the door. Could it be Chad? I suppressed the fear in my heart and walked carefully to the door. I deliberately dialed Ryan's phone. At the same time, a vibration sound of a mobile phone came from outside. It only rang for a few seconds and then disappeared. The beeping sound of being hung up also came from the phone. Immediately after that, gradually clearer footsteps sounded outside. I quickly locked the door. It's really Chad. Ryan's phone is in Chad's hand. That means Chad has seen every message I sent these 3 days. But even so, he still pretended that nothing had happened and was as affectionate as usual with me. I bit the back of my hand hard and forced myself to calm down. The footsteps outside the door were getting closer and closer, until they stopped at the door. Click. Chad turned the door lock. He didn't believe that I would lock the door from the inside. He increased his strength to turn the door lock. I was terrified. Wife, are you okay? Why is the room locked? Are you still angry with me? Open the door. Let's communicate well if there's anything, okay? Gradually, he became irritable and started knocking on the door hard. Wife, say something. In desperation, I stared firmly at the time on my phone. The sleeping pill will take effect soon. Sure enough, within a few minutes, the sound outside gradually became quieter. I put my ear against the door and could vaguely hear the even breathing sound. Only then did I heave a heavy sigh of relief. I casually picked up the perfume bottle on the dressing table and slowly opened the door a crack. At this time, Chad was quietly leaning against the door and sleeping deeply. Even so, I still didn't dare to make too much noise. I could only open the door as wide as possible and squeeze out through the crack. As soon as I stepped out, a warm feeling suddenly came from my ankle. A familiar voice rang in my ear, "Wife, where are you going so late?" Looking back, I was facing Chad's strange and eerie smile. I screamed out loud, kicked Chad hard and then started running forward. Chad followed unhurriedly behind me, just like a hunter chasing a prey about to be caught. The bedroom is on the 3rd floor and the door is on the 1st floor. While running, I started to call the police. But a strange scene appeared. The signal that was full just now had turned into no signal at this moment. I couldn't care so much anymore. As long as I ran out, I could also call for help. But I overlooked one thing. The whole house is full of smart home devices. Chad could just move his finger and the house was plunged into darkness. When I was nervous, a piercing pain came from my foot. Immediately after that, I rolled down the stairs. My whole body felt like it was falling apart. Chad was completely panicked this time. He hurriedly ran down and held me tightly in his arms. Before losing consciousness, I heard Chad's anxious cry in my ear. When I woke up again, I was back in the bedroom. Sitting beside me was Chad with a pale face. Seeing me wake up, his originally dull eyes suddenly lit up. "Wife, you finally woke up. Do you know? We are going to have a baby." "Yes, I am pregnant. I knew it a few days ago, but so what?" "The reason why I didn't tell Chad is that I haven't decided whether to keep this child or not. Now I have an answer, which is no. After all, he has a father who is a murderer." I pretended to be surprised and covered my mouth and looked at him in disbelief. "Really? I'm pregnant? But what happened to me? Why am I lying on the bed? And, why does my foot hurt so much?" He was stunned for a moment and tentatively said, "Don't you remember? You accidentally fell down just now when going downstairs. It's all my fault. I didn't take good care of you." I snuggled up in his arms as if by instinct. "What are you talking about? As long as the baby is fine." After comforting me with a few words, Chad left thoughtfully. After confirming that he had gone out, I got out of bed limping. As soon as he entered the study, he started making a phone call. Through the door, I heard him say, "Yes, it seems that she has lost her memory again. This will be easier. But she is pregnant, so we must speed up. Let's deal with the one in the basement first. After finishing all this, I will take her abroad. The other party may have asked questions like what if I don't go out?" Only heard Chad lower his tone and say seriously, "Then take her out forcibly. Since I can bring her back for the first time, I can also bring her back for the second time." I couldn't care about being afraid anymore. I quickly held my breath and returned to the bedroom. "The one in the basement? Is it Ryan? That means he may not be dead yet. It's just that I don't understand who else there is besides Ryan. Why are they called? But at present, I don't have time to think too much. Judging from Chad's meaning, he wants to kill Ryan. I must prevent this from happening. After all, he was caught by Chad because of me. But how can I save him? Perhaps God heard my call. Chad actually told me that he was going out. I'll be back soon. Don't run around, okay? Then where are you going? I'm so bored being alone at home. I probed. I'm going to pick up Hanford and let him take a look at your leg. Wait for me at home obediently. I nodded and didn't speak anymore. Hanford is the person I have seen the most in the past 6 months besides Chad. He is Chad's family doctor and will come to check on my body once every 3 days. Strangely, he used to come by himself before. But this time Chad actually took the initiative to pick him up. But this is also good. It just leaves me enough time to save Ryan. Chad is very cautious. Before leaving, he cut off all the networks. And he locked the only door and all the windows. That is to say, I have no chance to escape at all. I gave a few wry laughs and limped in the direction of the basement. Now I can only pray that Ryan hasn't been beaten so badly by Chad that he loses the ability to walk. At least he is a man and can compete with Chad. The further down I go, the lower the temperature. I subconsciously hug my arms. Although it is called the basement, it is actually the -2nd floor of the villa. The -1st floor has been transformed by Chad into a home theater. Originally, I said that I wanted to turn the -2nd floor into an underground supermarket so that I could experience the feeling of shopping at home. But Chad told me that it has other uses. Since it is gloomy here, I generally don't come down very often. As soon as I entered the -2nd floor, a strong smell of blood directly hit my nose. I was so nauseated by the smell that I couldn't help bending over and vomiting. The scene in front of me stunned me for a long time and I didn't react. There are several large freezers below. I summoned up my courage and went forward and slowly opened them. They are all solid frozen meat. Since they are only pieces of meat, it is impossible to tell whether they are human or pig. Further ahead, there is an iron door. For some reason, my heart was pounding. A strong sense of discomfort welled up in my heart. I suppressed the discomfort and slowly pushed open the door. The scene in front of me made me scream in horror. A man was hanging in the center, and in front of him were 2 severed heads. My whole body was covered in goosebumps. After a few seconds of relief, I took a deep breath and walked over slowly. As I got closer, the man's face gradually became clear in front of my eyes. Although he was beaten and covered in blood, I still recognized at a glance that he was the man in the photo, Ryan. I covered my mouth and burst into tears. I tried to find the switch to let him down from midair. The sound woke up the sleeping Ryan. When he saw me, the originally dull eyes were immediately filled with horror. He tried to move his mouth and say something. But it was too far away, and I couldn't hear clearly at all. Don't worry. I'll let you down. Don't be afraid. I've come to save you. I comforted him. But gradually, I sensed something was wrong. Because he kept shaking his head. As his mouth opened wider and wider, I saw clearly what he wanted to express. It was, run. I couldn't help shivering all over, turning stiffly in the direction of his eyes. In the darkness I didn't notice, Chad was staring at me intently without saying a word. I suddenly understood. Chad deliberately said that he was leaving. He just wanted to test if I really had lost my memory. I'm so stupid. As meticulous as he is. How could he easily believe that I lost my memory again? He was testing me. It's a pity that I was tricked. I wanted to run, but my feet couldn't take a step. It turns out that when people are extremely afraid, their legs really do go weak. In my frightened gaze, he walked over slowly. Looking down at me, he pinched my chin and said helplessly, "Wife, why must you run around? Originally, you didn't have to know these things. Why do you have to force me?" I closed my eyes in despair. Everything is about to end. But after waiting for a long time, nothing happened. I opened my eyes again. For some reason, I saw deep pain in Chad's eyes. At this time, Ryan, who was hanging, let out a hoarse cry. He said, "Come at me if you have anything. Let Vera go." This sentence completely angered Chad. He brandished the cleaver in his hand and chopped it on Ryan's body. Once, twice. While shouting and chopping, "You don't deserve to mention her name. You bastard." I had never seen Chad so out of control emotionally and was completely frightened silly. It was Ryan's painful shouts that brought my thoughts back. I hurriedly cried and went to stop Chad. But it was too late. Ryan didn't know how many times he had been chopped. He was on the verge of death. Blood flowed down his legs in torrents. Looking at the blood all over the floor, I was completely panicked. Grabbing Chad and wailing, "Call an ambulance quickly." "What are you doing in a daze?" "He is dying." "What are you doing in a daze?" Chad didn't answer me and covered my mouth with a white towel. My vision began to blur. Before completely losing consciousness, I heard Ryan's almost crazy roar, "Chad, you have lost. You will never be able to completely possess her in your life." 14 I was woken up by the sound. Opening my eyes vaguely, I saw two people standing outside the door. "They are Chad and Hanford." Hanford suppressed his anger and said, "Aren't you going to tell her the truth? If this continues, she will only hate you." Chad lowered his head, "She can't know. Otherwise, everything I have done will be in vain." Hanford said again, "Do you know that the police have already found you? This matter can't be hidden." "What matter? What is there that I don't know?" I was completely confused by what they said. At this time, Chad suddenly turned around. I quickly closed my eyes and pretended to be still asleep. He said, "Well, hypnotize her according to the previous process later. I'll leave it to you." It should be Chad who patted Hanford on the shoulder. Hypnotize according to the previous process? I suddenly realized. Could my so-called amnesia be the effect of hypnosis? What on earth is Chad hiding and even using hypnosis to make me forget at all costs? After waiting for a while, I figured the time was almost up and pretended to wake up just now. When Chad heard me moving, he hurriedly ran into the room. "Are you okay? Is there anything uncomfortable?" The anxiety on his face didn't seem to be an act. As soon as I thought of Ryan and the two heads in the basement, I subconsciously threw off his hand. He immediately put on an indifferent expression, but the momentary disappointment in his eyes was still captured by me. Looking at Hanford. "Check Vera for me. Make sure there are no mistakes. Is it about to be hypnotized?" I grabbed the quilt and backed up a few times. I haven't been in contact with this thing before and I don't know how to make the hypnosis fail without cooperating. Pretend to be fainting or pretend to be crazy? Neither seems to be a good choice. Just when I was struggling, the doorbell rang. The two of them quickly exchanged glances and Chad walked out. 15 Hanford quickly took out a dagger and pressed it against my neck. Threatening, "Don't make a sound, otherwise I will stab your neck with a knife." I immediately realized that the person who came should be the police. It seems that Ryan's disappearance has been noticed by the police. I glanced down at the dagger. The distance is too close. Before I can shout out, the dagger will be in my neck. At least Chad doesn't mean to kill me for now, so I can't court death. I don't know how long it took. Chad walked in from outside with a pale face. "Gone?" Hanford hurriedly asked. Chad nodded. "It's probably impossible to hide it anymore. Have you disposed of all other parts except the heads? Have you?" Chad nodded again. Other parts should refer to the bodies of those two people. The two of them just talked so freely in front of me. I was terrified listening to them. Only then did I know that as early as a month ago, the other two people had been transported here. In this month, Chad would take time every day to abuse the two of them. Then stay with me at home like nothing had happened. Why? Why? Why did you do this? What did the two of them do wrong? I couldn't control myself and roared out. The Chad in my memory is not like this. Although he is suspicious, he is still very gentle. How did he suddenly become a ruthless pervert? Why? Chad's eyes became sharp. "It's all because of you. Who told you to contact Ryan privately? Wasn't the cuckold you gave me a year ago enough? I have forgiven you once. Why are you still restless?" He grabbed my collar, his eyes bloodshot. "Even so, those two people are innocent. Why did you kill them too?" "In order to eradicate the source of trouble." Those two people are Ryan's friends. They helped him contact you. Anyone who competes with me for people must die. After saying that, he left with his head held high. 16. The room instantly fell into silence. I stared directly at Hanford in front of me. I opened my mouth hoarsely. Can you tell me what exactly happened? I think Chad is lying to me. I admit that he really acts very well. The image of a man who is crazy because of his girlfriend's betrayal is indeed very well portrayed. But something is wrong. Still something is wrong. Chad's appearance of getting angry just now is not like being angry. It's more like saying goodbye. So what on earth has happened? Hanford sighed. I won't tell you because that would be unfair to Chad. Like a crazy person, I pounded my lower abdomen hard. If you don't tell me, I will kill this child. At this moment, I simply can't control my emotions. Thinking of the resolute look in Chad's eyes before he left just now, my heart aches in waves. Although I don't know what happened, judging from Ryan's performance, Chad's loss of composure and the conversation between the two of them, I can almost confirm that everything Chad did is for me. But what is it? What is it? I pounded and cried at the same time, feeling like I was about to suffocate. Hanford rushed up and firmly held down my arm. He compromised and said, I'll tell you. Saying that, he took out a pocket watch and dangled it in front of my eyes. Gradually, my consciousness became blurred. I had a long dream. In the dream, Chad and I were not together at all. He was just the neighbor's elder brother who grew up with me as childhood sweethearts. Ryan is my proper boyfriend. We met at a party. He fell in love with me at first sight and then launched a fierce pursuit. After getting along, I found that he met all my fantasies about a boyfriend. I originally thought he was the perfect lover bestowed on me by heaven. Unexpectedly, everything was deliberately planned by him. The purpose is for the inheritance left by my parents. Not only that, he also let his two fair-weather friends rape me. After the incident was exposed, he brazenly said, if it weren't for money, would I be interested in you? After that, he imprisoned me. I had a car accident while escaping. No wonder Chad never slept with me in the same room. This pregnancy was also caused by his one-time drunken indiscretion. He always said that my body hadn't recovered well. It turns out that I was never his official girlfriend. He didn't want me to give myself to him in an ambiguous way. No wonder he always forbids me from contacting the outside world. He would rather portray himself as a pervert than let me go out. It turns out that he is afraid that I will go out and hear rumors. He did all this for me. I actually doubted him and mistakenly regarded him as a murderer. Murderer? I suddenly sat up from the bed, with tears still on my face. Meeting Hanford's eyes, my heart tightened. So everything in the dream just now is true. Hanford said that I escaped from Ryan's house and contacted Chad. I told him that Ryan is a pervert and begged him to save me. When Chad went to pick me up, he witnessed me having a car accident with his own eyes. At that time, the car hit a tree and the fuel tank leaked oil. It was he who dragged me out of the car regardless of danger. In a few seconds, the car exploded. I have never seen that kind of expression on Chad's face before. The expression of regaining what was lost and being panic-stricken. He held you and cried loudly. Later, after I woke up, I forgot everything about Ryan. Chad didn't know what excuse to use to take me home. So he asked Hanford to hypnotize me and make me lose a memory. Originally, Chad didn't plan to kill those 3 people. But they were too much. After learning that I was with Chad, they threatened with my nude photos and asked Chad to give them a sum of money. That's when Chad was moved to kill. Do you think he is just a lunatic? But he knows that even if he reports to the police, these people will still come out. Maybe they will contact you one day. He doesn't want you to recall those pasts. I opened my mouth but couldn't say anything. My heart seemed to be tightly held in someone's hand. It hurt so much that I couldn't catch my breath. Tears couldn't stop falling down. He is not a lunatic. He just loves me too much. But I don't deserve it. Chad first captured those 2 people. Ryan is smart and immediately sensed something was wrong. So he tried every means to contact me. His purpose is very simple. He just wants to deceive me to go out. He knows that as long as he sees me, he can easily control Chad. For this, he has made a lot of efforts. He hides near the villa all day. When he sees Chad's car leave, he starts to send me text messages. He knows me so well and knows what to say to make me tempted. But he didn't expect that Chad's vigilance is so strong. After Hanford finished speaking, I couldn't stop trembling all over. It was I who ruined Chad. Because he calculated that Chad wouldn't tell me the truth. In the days to come, I will only think that Chad is a pervert, a lunatic who kills without blinking an eye, and I will only disgust him. After Hanford finished speaking, I couldn't stop trembling all over. It was I who ruined Chad. I looked at Hanford with our eyes meeting. Suddenly, we both realized one thing. Where is Chad? Where did he go? Something's wrong. Hanford's face suddenly turned pale. A buzzing sound rang in my head. Stumbling, I ran downstairs. He was standing in front of the fish tank calmly, throwing pieces of meat into it. And right beside his feet was Ryan's head, clearly visible. He turned his head and our eyes met. A sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. He's dead. Now you can only belong to me. If you had been obedient earlier, he might not have died. I staggered to his side and threw myself into his arms. I'm sorry. I know everything. You shouldn't have done this. I don't deserve it. Really, I don't deserve it. His body stiffened and he looked at me in disbelief. What are you talking about? Seeing Hanford nod behind me, he suddenly couldn't hold back anymore. He pushed me away forcefully. Don't you think I helped you because I like you? Don't be silly. I imprisoned you because I hate you. Don't you remember? When we were kids, you always bullied and tricked me. Now it's your turn to be tricked by me. Were you very touched and felt guilty towards me when you learned the truth? Look, this is my purpose. My purpose has been achieved. Get out of here. Abort my child. People like you don't deserve to give birth to my child. After saying that, he turned his head and wiped away the tears at the corner of his eye. Still like when we were kids, he likes to talk to himself. Still so stubborn. I laughed until tears came. I was about to go forward and give in. Suddenly, the door was pushed open. A group of men in police uniforms rushed in. Before I could even see clearly what was happening, Chad was already pressed to the ground. Mr. Chad, right? We received a report that you are suspected of killing 3 people. Now we are arresting you and bringing you to justice. There was a buzzing sound in my ears. Report? Who reported the case? The sunlight poured in, making it so bright that I couldn't see Chad's expression clearly. I vaguely saw that he seemed to be smiling. I suddenly understood. He surrendered himself. Chad was taken out of the villa. Just before getting into the car, I suddenly reacted and rushed out. I knelt in front of the police and begged, "Can you give us some time? Today is the day we get our marriage license." Chad directly refused. "She's lying. Take me away quickly, Mr. Policeman." I looked into Chad's eyes and said word by word, "Don't let our child be without a father, okay?" He burst into tears. He wailed loudly. His cries echoed throughout the yard. If I'm not mistaken, he might pretend to escape on the way and be shot dead by the police. I know Chad too well. He thinks everything is over. In his mind, getting me was never something above board. Only when he dies can I give up this shackle and live a better life. But I have fallen in love with him, so I can't watch him die. In the end, the police agreed to my request. After coming out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I smiled and told Chad, "No matter how long it takes, I will wait for you. In life, I am your person. In death, I am your ghost." Postscript: 4 months later, Chad's case was pronounced. He killed 3 people in succession, constituting the crime of intentional homicide and the crime of destroying a corpse. Punished for both crimes, he was sentenced to more than 10 years in prison. On the day I came out of the court, I felt the first fetal movement. I touched my slightly throbbing lower abdomen and said gently, "Let's wait for Dad to come back together."